Welcome inside a Calgary Flames game day. It is the second game of the second round, Calgary Flames and Edmonton Oilers, and our second opportunity to bring you live coverage from the morning skate in these Stanley Cup playoffs. Of course, the Calgary Flames have a 1-0 series lead. Game 2 goes tonight before the series shifts up to Edmonton. And good to have our friend, Sportsnet color analyst, Sportsnet 960, the fan, Peter Loubardias.
Always an absolute pleasure to be with you, my friend, especially in the playoffs where
sure is.
I think the excitement level is going to escalate starting tonight and likely early. There's a little
early but late still.
Oh no, 8:30, 8:45 puck drop is late. But you know what that does?
Yeah.
Gives more time for the clientele in the building to enjoy themselves.
That's right. The pre-gaming begins now. We'll say effectively now.
Sure.
Part of the right after the post or pre-game show. That's we'll say that you can begin the pre-game festivities. You'll watch here, get a sense of everything going on this morning, and then begin the pre-game festivities leading up to the 8:45 puck drop tonight on the May-long weekend, by the way. So plenty to look forward to. You got a couple of games this weekend, an early start up in Edmonton for Game 3 as well. Let's first start by diving into what we saw in Game 1, because I would say that there's been plenty of chatter over the last couple of days, and maybe one of the biggest words you could use is a tad surprising. Surprising might be up at the top of the list.
Yeah, surprising would be there. I have a few other adjectives to describe game number 1. I don't know if it's a word in the English language. Pretty sloppy. That's a word. I was going to use slop fest, and now I just did.
Now it's on the table.
It was, you know what? Surprising was it? You know, we joked the other day, and even Connor McDavid addressed the fact that, boy, oh boy, you're not going to see another gong show like the last time they were in the building. Guess what? It went from 9-5 to 9-6. But it
technically he was right.
He was. But, you know, when I look back at that game, right off the bat, Calgary, I thought, had a marvelous first period. Started on time, had a ton of offensive zone time. Needless to say, it doesn't hurt when you find the back of the net twice in the first 51 seconds. And, you know, they limited McDavid and company in that first period. Outside of that, what do you stick handle about 26 times in a space of about 6 inches to beat Jacob, who had no chance on the first one.
5-hole.
But I have to tell you, upstairs, calling the game, when it got to 6-3, I'm like, I don't like this. It's too open. It's sloppy. It's the kind of game that it's easy to fall into that kind of a trap, because I get wary parks of games where things come way easier, because it's easy to get wrapped up in that, and you're pushing, and you got to keep pushing. But then, you know, I always use this analogy on the radio. It's like when you go to the bathroom, you brush your teeth, you go to turn off the faucet, and you think it's turned off, but it's just dripping. And you can't stop the drip.
Well, and it was still early. I mean, we're talking about a game that, you know, was still in the first 10 minutes of the second period, right? And at that point, you can't really change anything. And so, you know, it was an interesting dynamic. And I know you want to talk a little bit about, you know, one line in particular here. Maybe let's do that now, because I thought, you know, and just had really their fingerprints all over that hockey game, and that's the line that was most recently put together at the end of that Dallas first round series, centered by Michael Backlund with Blake Coleman and Andrew Mangiapane on his wings.
Well, Mangiapane shot out of a cannon in this game. Blake Coleman, I think he's been fabulous the entire playoff. But this line for me, and when Michael Backlund, I say it a lot, is at his two-way best, this team rarely loses hockey games, and he has really continued to get better and better and make an impact, and they were too much to handle on the other side of the coin. Here's one of my other favorite guys, Trevor Lewis. You know, you get a puck to the net, and there's Blake Coleman going to a good spot, and when you get to good spots, good things happen. But this line was just, thought they were outstanding. Make a play on the Rasmus Andersson game winner that takes it from 6-6. This goal there, you don't get that one. Now you really have a problem. And here's Tkachuk with his second of 3 to make it 8-6. But I thought that line, take nothing away from the top group from start to finish, absolutely drove the bus. to get everything going, set the way you needed to play.
Yeah, that's really well said. And obviously there was some twists and turns in that hockey game. We're going to see it. Actually, we're going to hear from Nikita Zadorov here momentarily. He's going to join us here live. And there'll be some shuffling around. You hear some activity in the background, too, as everybody's kind of getting their interviews done for the morning skate. Just actually wrapped up morning skate. And we could tell you that it was a full morning skate here for the Calgary Flames. Optional practice yesterday, which we've kind of seen periodically here through the playoffs. Can't be on the ice all the time, and you pick your spots. But, good to get the body moving in the morning skate and get everybody ready to go here tonight.
You know what it is, especially now that you're into game off game, all teams look to get into a pattern and a rhythm. So it looks right now like what's been established for both teams in this series: play, get some rest, go over tape, and then get the legs going a little bit, because teams do not like to go unless you're so injured that you do not want to participate, and we have some of that in this series. They don't like to take 2 full days off before you start a hockey game.
And that is one interesting thing to watch as this series goes along, and I'm not sure that you're going to see the impact of it necessarily during the series, because both these teams are doing it, but travel-wise, I mean, the difference between going from Dallas or LA and Edmonton circumstance to what we're seeing here, which is a hop, skip, and a jump, 30-minute flight, 40-minute flight, or whatever it is, that helps a lot throughout this.
In terms of recovery, it's massive.
Yeah.
Better than I do in recent days, that's a 4-hour flight to Dallas. And you got to go to the airport, you got to go through customs, you got to wait. It's taxing. People don't have any idea how taxing those long flights are, and especially in a series where you are going every other day. So play, a couple, travel, and, in that series, when it goes 1-1-1, now travel becomes even more important, and you wonder how that takes its toll even going forward into this series. Now the only thing is that Edmonton also had a 3-hour flight to Los Angeles.
Yep, well said, and that's something to watch as we go along here. And it's just one of those interesting dynamics. You get into the playoffs, you don't know how it's going to draw up. I mean, St. Louis and Colorado, they got a little time zone shift, but even if you look across the playoffs in the East, I mean, Florida's playing all in their same state, so luck of the draw in some ways, and you never know how it's going to benefit you. But the more rest you can get, the better as this thing goes along, because injuries are part of it, rest, recovery, it's all such a huge factor.
Even the fact that game times are different.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So 7:30 game 1, 8:30, 8:45 puck drop tonight, and now you're at 6 on Sunday in Edmonton. So these guys are truly creatures of habit, and you heard Daryl Sutter talk after game number 1 about even going from the routine of play off to going, from playing Sunday to not playing till Wednesday, and the Oilers played Saturday, and then they didn't play till Wednesday. It might have led to the kind of nature of how game number 1 went.
And the emotion of it, too, right? I mean, you talk about how, the ups and downs of a 7-game playoff series and the emotions of finding a way to pull one out, and just how, you get those couple of days and maybe you do take a little bit of a deep breath, right? I mean, you put so much into it just to get out of the first round. And I think, we see maybe a change as this series starts to wear on, too, in that sense.
Parks, when you look at it this way, so you have 2 organizations in this series that have not had a lot of playoff success lately, and they both get pushed to the absolute brink, especially the Flames needing 15 minutes and 67 shots on goal in a Game 7. The Dallas series against Calgary was as tense, nerve-wracking a series as I think I've ever been involved in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
Because every single play, every shift, every mistake, every special team, every goal seemed like it had a chance to turn things one way or another. It really was, and I know it wasn't for everybody. There's probably a lot of people out there watching our show today that, love all the goals and all the back and forth and the comeback and then the win. But for me, that Dallas series was everything that I like about this time of year in playoff hockey.
One goal is the difference.
Everything mattered. Everything. Every face-off. I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
And that will be the case as we move along too. And we'll see what Game 2 has in store. By the way, we should welcome you back in. This is kind of something new on Flames TV, which we're really excited about. Just bringing you all the coverage from morning skate, whether it be some lineup news, which you're not going to get much of. I'll tell you that much right now from either side.
No, you
so
don't
expect
say.
that. We can tell you what's happening on the ice. We can tell you what we see with our own two eyes, but we're not going to get much from the coaches in terms of what they're expecting, what they're seeing. There you see Dan Loubardias, some of the Calgary Flames staff as well. They're just wrapping up morning skate here this morning from the Flames side of things, and then it's more of an afternoon skate because of the 8:30 or 8:45 puck drop, as Lou points out. It's actually an 11 a.m. and noon skate times for both teams here this morning, but we'll hear from head coach Daryl Sutter. And a couple of players, I believe Michael Backlund and Matthew Tkachuk will be on the podium as well. So good to be able to work this back and forth. And then eventually Nikita Zadorov will be on the desk here as well. And guys will let us know when Daryl's ready to give his morning address to the media, which is a huge conglomerate of media. It is. Does it have that feel in terms of, it kind of seems like the crowd and the excitement and the level of anticipation for this series is kind of, it has started to take on a little bit of a national perspective, and maybe partly due the Leafs aren't in it anymore, but this series has a lot of eyes on it, doesn't it?
Oh, it's massive. Yeah. I mean, and, with even our friends south of the border, ESPN, and with them in year one of their brand new contract, and, the star power in this series certainly doesn't hurt in any way, shape, or form when you're trying to sell the game to new audiences. But I have not seen scrums like this since playoff games that I covered in the early 2000s in Toronto and the 2001 and 2002 Stanley Cup Finals.
Unbelievable.
So it's
and it's second round.
It's round two.
Round two. All right, with that, let's hear from the head coach, Daryl Sutter. Sometimes we get there's a number of people with questions, so we get some interesting answers, as we always do. And let's look forward to what we're going to hear ahead of game number 2 between the Flames and Oilers tonight.
Mark. Do you want to sit here and I'll ask the questions?
Not a chance.
No, come on. Come on.
What would you ask?
It would. Pardon?
What would you ask?
Who's the favorite in the Preakness tomorrow?
You didn't have the derby like everyone else, did you?
Came close. He'll win tomorrow. Epicenter.
Daryl, you talked about it being a bit of a no-hitter in game number 1. How does your group typically respond after games that go that way? Do you feel like there'll be more of that in game 2?
More
Physicality in game 2.
as long as it's within the rules, that's fine. I mean, can't. I think the big reason it was like that in game 1 is teams are afraid to take penalties. You can't. I mean, we Oilers had 4 and we had 3 power plays, and those aren't good odds. When they're running at a 30-some% power play and you take 4, well, we beat the odds the other night.
Michael Backlund, how much does he make your team tick and why?
I think he's really picked his game up, number 1. Partway through the Dallas series, he became a really effective player for us, and hey, guts your team. Middle of the ice.
A lot more responsibility this series than Dallas, or same?
I don't think much difference. We move guys around lots, and face-offs, penalty kill. He gets special teams things and lots of face-offs, so that's his job.
Does it make it more difficult when McDavid's playing with a whole pile of different people? When he's playing on that line, does it matter usually?
No, I think that that's the old story about these matchups and guys that know about it. Right? So everybody's looking at matchups. Well, how many actual matchups are there in today's game? You can't change on the fly. It's impossible because you're going to get beat. So it's usually a defenseman, and you can't put a player that will go follow another player around like the old days. So it's a big difference. I mean, really, a lot of those guys that ask that question should watch the game and get a little more current, right?
Okay, I'll get more current.
No, you are, but that's, I mean, Connor McDavid's Connor McDavid, right?
I'm just curious about that, Daryl. Like that hasn't been happening for a long, long time, where a player would shadow someone.
Yes, it has.
Why not?
Yes, it has. Like 3 years ago, Calgary, Anaheim, or 4 years ago, when you were wondering why they lost or why they won. Why not? Because you change the rules, like asking about physicality. Change the rules. So you can't follow guys around no more. Players are too good. It's not like there's fourth line that can't play or a sixth defenseman can't play. Everybody can play. So you got to be able to play against good players. Very simple. That's why you have structure.
What's the value of a powerful D pairing? Two big guys that can play that way, that actually play together really well.
You got to be able to move the puck, and you got to be able to stay at the penalty box. You got to have good communication with your partner. You got to play within the structure of the game.
What have you seen collectively out of your six defensemen in terms of sort of picking up the slack in the two games that Tanev hasn't been available?
We haven't given up much, which is important. Even though it was a high-scoring game last game, we gave up 12 scoring chances. So, that tells you the efficiency of the group. So you have to try and emulate that again. I think the big difference when you ask that question, the big difference in the two defenses is Oilers have twice as much experience on the back end as us in terms of playoffs. If you do it, it's like 350 to 170 or something. So it's a big difference. So we're getting the experience as we go where they've got it. So there's a big difference when you look at it, and that's part of playoffs. That's part of going to making it, to going through the first round, to getting into the next round. That's the experience is a big part of it.
In your experience when there's a game with 15 goals, what does the next game often look like, especially in the playoffs?
Yeah, just want to win. So if it's 9-7 again or whatever that score was the other night, just want to win.
How has Rasmus Anderson's game evolved during the playoffs? It seems like fans are starting to see him take that next step. Have you seen it?
Just want to be consistent. Same question was asked about the defenseman. It's not about one player. I mean, if it was just about one player, then hey, Duncan Keith is a Conn Smythe winner and a multiple Norris winner. So if it's just about one player, then it's not really. It's the same. I'm answering the same question 3 times. It's about the experience of it and how your consistency is and how you evolve as you play different types of teams or different types of players.
Probably a dumb question, Darryl, but the late start and players are creatures of habit and their routine. I mean, it's something you actually address as a group. I mean,
yeah, we've talked about it a lot. It's just that, in the Dallas series, because the time zone change, when we went to Dallas, those late starts, so we said we're still on mountain time, so it's all right. So, but this is getting up there, right? Like you can play in 2 days. 2 different days. Play all long weekend, one game. Hey, we got to accommodate who they want to watch.
Just going back to the defenseman and the experience, I mean, it's one thing to go through the game, but I'm sure there are lessons that you want them to apply from it. It's kind of like what you do with that experience, right? So what do you hope that your players do once they leave the rink to actually, start to do something with the experience they're gaining?
You have to build it over the year, and then you have to try and build it through playoffs. Then you have to try and do that again the following year. That's how you get it. Those one and done or those underdog or that team that steps up and has one good playoff, then you don't see it again. Well, that's the experience of those players. If they're here for a long period of time, then that's the experience.
Does that experience does that benefit a player more physically in handling on-ice situations, or is it more like a mental thing, how to handle pressure and adversity in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think that's how you win and how you lose is through adversity during games.
Brady Tkachuk's been causing quite a stir with his support of Matthew. Did you or any of your brothers go and support one another when they were going for cups?
I don't think we traveled to do it, but we certainly supported him. That would be. There was a lot of us, and so we were certainly supportive of our brothers, and that's what Brady's doing.
So when Dwayne was winning cups on the island, what were you doing?
Dwayne and Brent.
And Brent, yeah. Where were you at the farm?
We were always, if you were out, you were home this weekend to help Dad put the crop in, May long. Everybody always asked, what'd you say to your brother when you shook his hand? Who's getting on the tractor on Tuesday?
You all good?
Okay.
Thank
See you tonight.
We'll see the broadcast teams next door, same as last game, please.
Well, let's welcome you into game day. It's game number 2, Flames and Oilers tonight. Nikita Zadorov joins us on the FlamesTV desk. And Nikita, maybe first of all, just, I would say somewhat surprising maybe to see 15 goals in game 1, but just about the approach here as we get the win. Obviously, that's important. What's the mindset here tonight for your group?
Yeah, well, definitely better defensively. It's not our game to giving up 5 goals. Definitely, I think we need to tighten it up some things on the ice. We tucked this morning. Hopefully we will do it tonight.
Did you think, though, the finish to the game, just the way that you approached the final, third period, but after you got the lead, most importantly, when you finally did kind of lock that up after?
Yeah, I mean, we still got a little lucky. Like they have so many great players. They can make plays. They can come back from any scenario. We just have to do a better job on them.
How about the emotions? I mean, we were just talking about, coming off of Game 7 and some of the emotions you invest in round 1 and, how did that kind of spills over into this series, which, as we know, has been a lot of excitement and, just amped up a little bit.
I mean, it looked fine for me, like the crowd was behind us, I think everybody was excited to get it going in the second round as well.
Yeah.
Especially team against Edmonton like that, so I think it's going to be a great battle along the way, yeah.
Are you getting a sense of just what this series means to this province and what you're seeing and feeling out there right now as you get ready for these games?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of, there's a couple of similar teams back home for me.
Yeah.
Not in hockey, but in soccer, and I can see the passion from the fans, how much they hate each other. So
yeah.
It's like a derby, definitely like in Europe, like there's lots of derbies in soccer, like a Classico and all those. So
yeah.
I think we can put it in the same category, like the hateful between the city, between the fans, between the teams as well. So
yeah, which one comes to mind right away? Which rivalry?
Well, mine was like it was Spartak Moscow and CSKA Moscow, so that was always the big one. But I know like where Luci's family is from Belgrade, they have a Crvena Zvezda and then and another team, I forgot the name, so they have the same rivalry. So I think it's like for the European-born players, like we see it all the time. For American sports, it's kind of the same way, but it's not. They don't have like a fighting people, like they have a fighting clubs and all that, so it's different. But it's kind of pretty big rivalry, I would say.
That's great. I love that perspective. And maybe just one last one for me, and that's just, again, when you talk about approaches and mindsets of your group, I mean, what about the confidence? Because you guys have been able to do that no matter what's happened in one game to the next, just about coming back to the systems, to the things that you've done and developed right through the season. Do you guys have that confidence that works?
Yeah, for sure. There's lots of confidence in that inside that room, especially, we were probably maybe a little bit of lack of confidence after the series, but now we scored 9 goals. It's back on him. But I mean, our goal is to play tight defensively, play good defensive hockey, and then we're gonna get our chances. We're gonna capitalize on that.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the time. Good luck
tonight.
Thank
you.
I'll start, Michael. It's been not just one game in a row, but 2 games in a row when you played Edmonton, and it went to be some crazy 9-5 game. I know everyone wants to play defense tonight and get back to normal hockey, but is there a trend here? Maybe these teams have to play high-scoring hockey. What do you think?
No, I don't think it's a trend. We know we got to be better. We liked that first period a lot, but then we let them come back in the game, and we know we can play a lot tighter and do a better job than we did in the second period and beginning of the third. So, from our standpoint, we like to be that boring team that wins. We're fine with that.
I would assume normally in a game 2 where you won game 1, you'd expect the other team to make adjustments, but in this situation, both teams are making adjustments, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we had a good meeting this morning. We know, and after last game 2, we talked about it. We know we gotta do a better job when we're up, and overall, you can never be satisfied. It's a series. One game doesn't do it for you, so you got to keep pushing and keep improving.
Is it adjustments or just execution?
A little bit of both.
Matthew, when Darryl was asked about your game after game 1, he talked about playing with emotion, but kind of controlling that emotion. Knowing that you're a guy who needs to sort of be engaged to feel like you're at your best, how do you sort of walk that line?
I mean, you kind of have to in playoffs. You can't put your team in a bad situation by not being prepared, not playing your game, no matter who you are out there. So I thought that with all the things that happened in game 1, to come out there with a win, even though that we didn't get to play our best, and probably weren't prepared for the second and third period. Kind of got lucky there, but we'll take the win.
Daryl's talked a lot about playoff experience and the value of playing in these games. Where does that experience benefit you more? Is it sort of a physical thing, like knowing how to deal with situations on the ice, or is it more mentally knowing how to handle certain situations? Where does that come into play?
You mean like our team or?
Just like for you personally, when you have more playoff experience, does that benefit you sort of more mentally, or is it more like a physical thing, like knowing how to handle those types of situations?
A little bit of both, I think, but definitely mentally. First time around was all pretty crazy that we made a playoff that year. It was a crazy year overall, and then seasons or the playoffs after that, it's been some learning experiences where me and the team have been good enough. So you learn from that, and you learn from your experiences and try and do better now.
Matthew, your coach sort of indicated it was a bit of a no-hitter, was sort of how he looked at Game 1. What did you think about the physicality in Game 1? Were you surprised by anything on that front, and do you think it'll be different in Game 2?
I don't know if I was, surprised by it. I think that, when there's that many goals and that much offense, it's probably both teams would like to be more physical and just play better in the neutral zone, whether it's physical there or just being above guys. I thought especially on our end, we gave up too much off the rush, way too much. So whether that's being physical or just being above and back checking, whatever that is. But we'll definitely be making adjustments, and I'm sure they will as well.
Michael, you've played against a lot of the top centers, kind of like that challenge. David's speed and his quickness in tight areas obviously offers, I think, a different challenge than others. How do you defend that spin move that he's used a lot, and he used it a few times in Game 1?
Yeah, I think you got to be patient against a player like that. You can't rush at him, because then he's going to make one quick move, and you're going to be on your heels. So I think find a way to be on your toes, but at the same time be patient. When the time's right, strike at him. But he's the hardest player to play against in the league for sure. He's shown it this year again that he's the best offensive player in the league.
You guys are creatures of habit in terms of your routines on game days. What does an 8:45 puck drop represent as an adjustment for you guys?
Yeah, I think that at home it's not as good as it is on the road, because when we were in Dallas, we've had a few of these, which is something that has been nice. So we're prepared and have done it before, but I think as the road team, you get to do everything a little bit later, which I don't know. I guess for an 8:45, you can sleep in a bit. I don't know. Everything's just later, so it's a lot of time throughout the day. But I don't know. Just push everything back an hour is the way I do it. So definitely a long nap, which is something I'm excited for, though.
Matthew, just over here to the right, you made a nice video yesterday. I think it was yesterday. That it was posted for Ben. I just wonder a little bit of the process for this little guy who's going through a tough time. And Battle of Alberta is one thing, but Ben is obviously, and kids like that are above what happens on the ice.
Yeah, definitely. I think stuff like that's very close to me, dealing with stuff in Calgary with kids, kind of in similar situations. And obviously we've seen a lot of videos, throughout the year, being in Calgary, watching a lot of the Edmonton games, and yesterday I was just approached, showing a picture of fans in the crowd holding up a sign, and we're gonna do the same thing with players. And then I've seen was showing the video of him shooting me in the head, or pretty close to it. So just thought it'd be good to make a video back, and instead of just a picture there. So obviously it's way bigger than hockey, and doesn't matter who you're rooting for. We're cheering him on, and we know he doesn't like us, and that's just what the game brings. But we're all obviously thinking about him and his family, and he's a true warrior. So we're following him every step with when he's at the games and everything like that. So we're definitely cheering him on and hoping for the best for him.
Thanks very much, guys.
All right, there is Matthew Tkachuk and Michael Backlund here pre-game ahead of Game 2 between the Flames and Oilers. The video that I think that was Gene Principe that asked the question. Matthew Tkachuk, they posted it yesterday, and if you want to go on our Flames social media sites, Instagram, Twitter, you can see it. Ben Stetler, of course, that was who the video was made for, and basically just kind of a show of appreciation that everyone here supporting him and a big fan of him, and also a little tongue-in-cheek, just the fact that there was a couple videos of him. I think it was a Nerf gun shooting a Nerf gun at Matthew, so he had some fun with that. But that is kind of the higher part of it, and great on Matthew and the organization, obviously, to send their best to Ben.
Yeah, and you know what? It was interesting that Matthew was talking, but you could see on Michael's face, he has 2 small children. Yeah. And, for anyone who has children, there is absolutely, I don't know, in all sincerity, how families go through those process. Yeah. Not to go down that road, but it is a reminder that as fired up as we get, and I'm leading the charge. Sure. We wish the Stetler family all the best.
Yeah, well said. And
breaks your heart.
And by the way, Matthew does some great work. I know he didn't mention it there, but with the Alberta Children's Hospital Foundation, and Michael is very much the same all across the city. 2 guys who give a lot back to this city, so no surprise there. But I said, well said by Peter and Matthew to send all our best to Ben and the family as well. So as far as the game tonight, what have you heard? What have you seen? Morning skates, morning avails are all finished now. What do we? What can you garner away from what you've heard and what you've seen here as we lead into Game 2?
Parks, I think the whole overriding story from both teams going into Game 2 is we just have to be much better than we were in Game number 1. I mean, for the Flames, yes, they did a lot of great things. They won the hockey game, but this team can't get involved with the Oilers in that kind of sloppy type play, which really happened in the second and the third period. We know they're going to get a better goaltending performance from Jacob Markstrom. I certainly expect Edmonton to be far more dialed in on the details of their game. So, the fabulous thing that I think about now more than ever, I don't think momentum makes 1 ounce of difference going from one game to the next. Each and every game, I find, takes on its own storylines, and whichever team checks the best tonight. And I think another overriding factor for the Flames, and I just had a chance for our radio coaches show tonight to talk to Kirk Muller, Flames, I find, are starting to get some better looks on the power play. As much as the focus has been on the Oilers, and for good reason, 30% plus power play, and in the regular season it operated at 43.8 against Calgary. I think an untalked about factor is if the Flames power play can be more successful, that may end up being a very big factor for Calgary in this set.
Got 1 in Game 1, and obviously penalty kill goes 4 for 4, so that's important. But Daryl Sutter was also real quick to point out that if you're going to give them 4 chances, you're not often going to be putting up bagels in terms of PKs or power play goals against. So always lots of hidden little storylines and things to follow, and that is, it absolutely is, isn't it? It's just...
Never mind, these are the best. Come on.
It's just sit back and let it ride and see what we get.
Listen, you're so lucky, so privileged to be down there, to be here in the thick of it, to be out there. That's why I wake up in the morning.
Me too. Enjoy it, my friend. Big Game 2 tonight.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing this, by the way.
Oh, for you? Anything. For that Flames group in there, you guys, 3 words. Get it done. Thank you. That'd be 5.
Peter Stewart, Ryan Dietrich, Ed Robertson, Carlo.
Love you guys.
Yeah. Much appreciated. That's
good
it,
humans.
Gets this show on the air, Flames TV, the pregame show, the morning show, we'll call it. The pregame show comes right before the game. I don't even know what to call it, but it's the morning show, we'll say. Game 2 comes tonight. 8:45 puck drop, I guess. 8:30 listed officially on the NHL schedule. Flames and Oilers. Flames with a chance to take a 2-0 series lead. Thanks for watching this morning. We'll be back live with you ahead of Game number 2 tonight.